I've got this tree, I've got this cypress, this tree. So as you can see, I've got a few trees recently. Yeah, and today I'm going to try to get as many of them planted out as possible, as long as my back and shoulders hold out. And hopefully by the time you see this, hopefully all 4 trees and a shrub are planted out. And that's just the beginning of the 2024 planting season. For any of you who are new or just stumbled across this video, my name is Jason. I'm down here in Growing Zone 8B, Eastern North Carolina. And I'm building a garden here on 1.5 acres. One of the things I wanted to do this year was really just start filling out structure, which is something I should have done 3 years ago when I first started this garden, but I didn't. So here we are in year 4, and now I'm adding to the existing structure, but it's stuff that should have been done years ago. I guess what they say is true, better late than never, maybe, I don't know. Either way, let me give you a rundown of what we got. So, for those of you who've watched my previous videos, and to let you guys know who are just joining in, I had 2 pear trees in front of my house all the way towards the street. Both those pear trees got blight. They had to come out. I did a video on that. And now we're going to replace them with 2 Jane magnolias. That's what those pink flowering, shrubby looking things are. Now, Jane magnolias are sort of dwarf. I think they only get to about 15 feet tall. Compared that to a sweet bay magnolia, which was the first large tree that I showed you, that will get up to about, I think, 30 to 40 feet tall, maybe a little taller. Sweet bays are pretty common around here in the South. From my understanding, I'm a newbie to the South, so I'm learning all these things as well as gardening. I'll also be discussing where I'm planting all of these things, so if you guys are a little confused about what's going on, where am I in the garden, head over to growinggreenfinger.com, the garden, and there I have a map as to the different areas of the garden, but I'll try to explain all that as I go along today. Then the next one I got was a Italian cypress. I kind of always wanted an Italian cypress. I saw it on Gardener's World. I think Monty Don has a couple, or maybe I saw it online. Either way, I wanted an Italian cypress because they're really wild to me. Just a tall, thin arborvitae, and I figured why not? Now, the spot where I'm going to plant that in today, I had a Nellie Stevens holly. Deer nibbled that down, and it's not recovering. In fact, it started to recover once they nibbled it down the first time, but then they nibbled it again, and then it's. So we're going to replace that with the Italian cypress. I'm hopeful that the deer won't bother it, but we'll wind up seeing. I did a little homework on this before I wound up making the purchase, and deer typically don't like to eat the cypresses, but it's deer. So we're taking a gamble, but I'm going to plant that down down towards the end of the grand walkway. And again, I'll explain all this when I get to those different areas. And then the last one I got was another Jane magnolia, and that's going to go out in the orchard. So what's going to happen is I'm going to have 3 flowering Jane magnolias all towards the front of the property, which will be really exciting come springtime. Right now, they just have a few flowers on them, and they'll probably go away in the next couple of weeks, which is fine. But next year and the year after that, and as they get bigger, they're just going to put on more and more flowers. So let me go grab some tools and let's get digging. Here we are down towards the end of the orchard. The orchard's actually over there, and where you guys are standing and where I'm standing is in the grand walkway, which is a 20-foot wide strip dividing sort of the front and the back halves of the garden. This tree is going to go towards the back half, and actually with its location here is going to be part of the grand walkway border. Towards the house, I'm going to have various shrubs, boxwoods, things like that. Coming down this way, behind you guys, which I haven't planted yet, which I'll do in an upcoming video, I'm going to have some inkberries. And somewhere around here, I'm going to have a red maple. And then coming back over here, right here again at the edge, I'm going to have, actually I might pull this back just a little bit more, I'm going to have this sweet bay. Again, they get to about 30 to 50 feet tall in like 30 years, so I'll be dead by then. But if I can get this guy planted today, then all the better, and he'll get his start. And who knows, in 10 years time, it should be quite a bit taller and providing some nice shade. So let me get to planting, stop babbling, and just like that, we are done. All planted. I actually saved you guys the trouble of watching me just dig and suffer and fight through the clay and crap soil. But I added in compost into that soil, so it's just going to give it that much oomph, I think, and it'll make it a happy tree. It did come with some very small bamboo stakes that I guess hold it upright in the pot. What I'm thinking is I may get a few more of my rebar pieces to put them out to help support the tree, because it is pretty soft and wibbly wobbly. So I think it's going to need a little bit of support this year, but that's okay. This way we'll hopefully have it growing up straight. Let's move on to the next one. Here we are at the very end of the orchard. My property line is somewhere around here. I feel like I'm within 4 to 5 feet. So either way, there was an Ellie Stevens here, and this is the one that got munched on and destroyed by the deer. So what I'm going to do today is just dig this out, and I'm going to be planting up this Italian cypress, which shouldn't get too much wider than yay. I think it's maximum size, something like 5 feet. This, I don't know if it's in the shop, but this post here, this is one of the supporting posts that I'm going to have for the fake gate that I'll be putting down here at the end of the grand walkway. It'll be more of a visual thing. When I do the project, you guys will see it, of course. I'll bring you along for that, and this way hopefully you can all see my vision as time goes on. But in the meantime, let's get this old thing out. All right, let's see how easy you're going to come out of the pot. Beautiful. All right. Good, good. Give it a good water. Now I mulched, not for decoration, but to help the ground retain water. Summers do get very hot here. The Italian cypress should enjoy that, but what it won't enjoy is drying out. And if we have a 2 or 3 week long drought, the roots on this young cypress may wind up drying out, which nobody wants. I don't want, you guys don't want, it doesn't want. For now, this will work. It did come a little bent in the box, but it's a young plant and it will straighten itself out, especially once it starts establishing its roots. Until then, I'll be keeping an eye on it, and I will be watering it, as well as all the new trees that I'm planting today. They'll all be regularly watered throughout the year. All right then, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so now we are out in the orchard itself. The street is right behind you guys. This Jane Magnolia is going to go here, and I'm going to train it up into a tree form. You can already see it has a nice solid trunk on it with no lower branches. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to plant this guy and should stop prattling and get this guy planted. So just like that, and another tree is planted. This is another Jane Magnolia. Again, I'm going to train this guy up into a tree form. The others that we're about to go see, those are going to be in shrub form. So let me grab my shovel and let's go over there. All right, here we are at the front of the property. And again, this is where I had the pear trees the last few years. Again, with the blight, they had to go, so I took them out. I'm going to reuse the existing hole for this one, and I'm going to put that Jane Magnolia there. This Jane Magnolia, I'm going to move a little further to the side, because when I originally planted the pear, I didn't kind of realize I was a little over the sewage pipe, which I don't want to be, because again, future roots, like that kind of thing. So I've moved more over to the side, and I'm going to plant this one here. Let me stop talking. Let me get to planting, and you guys can listen to a little bit of music. Here they are. They're both planted now. My back is okay. My shoulder is in excruciating pain. But both magnolias are now planted. They look good. They still have some flowers on them. They'll be falling off within the next week or so. Now, the keen eye of you may have noticed that both of these are planted a little bit high. And that's okay. Both will actually settle. I don't know if they'll settle down to ground level, but that's okay, because I'm probably going to put the tree rings back that I had around the pear trees. Some of you may have remembered when I pulled the pear trees that I had tree rings around both these both the trees. So I think what I'm going to do is put the tree rings back. Nicer, neater feel. It'll also make it a little easier to mow around. But here we are. Both are planted. They are planted a little bit high. They will settle. I've watered and I've added some mulch around each one of them just for the time being. The temperatures the next few weeks are going to be pretty cool, but they will eventually start heating up. We are now officially into spring. Yay, as I'm filming this, I believe this is the 19th. I'm not sure when you guys are going to see this. Let's go clean up. Let's wrap up this video. Well, if you're still watching at this point, thank you. I'm a little beat there. It's quite a bit of hole digging, but I managed to get the holes dug and get the trees planted. This is probably not all the trees I'm going to be planting this year, and definitely not all the shrubbery. I don't know if you've noticed, but I have quite a few cuttings which are getting to size that will probably be planted out this year at some point somewhere in the garden. Right, Sophie? She's been running around most of the afternoon playing in the pollen. Pollen is coating everything. All the pine, this is pollen season for me if you didn't know. All of the pine trees are releasing their pollen. If you don't know about pine trees and pollen, do a quick Google search. It's kind of somewhat disturbing. So if you guessed I was going to plant 2 Jane Magnolias out in front of the house, you guessed right. I did actually put up a teaser photo earlier in the week, or last week, or over the weekend. I can't remember. It all sort of blurs together. But one of you got very close. You know who you are. I was not expecting to be planting out a Sweet Bay Magnolia, a large one at that. The other Jane Magnolia, which is planted out in the orchard, that one was planned. I was actually going to make a whole little video on that, and well, plans change, things change. So now there's some new trees planted out in the garden. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, click that bell icon to be notified when I do post a new video. Check out all the links below. Go check out my book, Pictures from My Garden, very cleverly titled. Check out my Etsy store. And I will check all you guys out in the next video. Bye-bye.